Hello everybody and welcome to the Clinton County Veterans Oral History Project. This is Nick Wiget. I'm here at Wilmington College with a local veteran, Mr. Robert Kirk. Robert, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk to you, like I said before we went on camera, we're going to talk to you a little bit about your background, about your upbringing, and then a lot about your military service. And we thank you in advance for your service, and we thank you for coming in to talk to us about it today here as well. All right, Mr. Kirk, tell me a little bit about where you were born and where you grew up.
I was born in the area of Cedarville, Ohio in 1924, May 31st.
Did you grow up in Cedarville?
Well, we moved around. Of course, we were farmers. We moved around quite a bit. And, of course, I lost my dad in 1935. I was not quite 11. So my dad taught me a lot of things.
What was your mother just a homemaker? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
How many brothers and sisters, siblings?
I had, lost one brother in 1917, and I had another brother and a sister.
Okay.
And see, my brother Dale was 76, I think, when he passed away. I think my sister was 87, I think, when she passed. I'm not sure on that. But,
After your father passed away and you were so young, did you and your siblings find yourself assuming some of the work on the farm?
oh yes,
Yeah.
we stayed there till 1938, and Mom says, "Well, we're gonna sell out the farm." "Oh, Mom, please." Hey, that's all you knew. But she sold out anyway. So, then we moved to Bowersville, Ohio. And of course, when we moved there, and then she done midwife. Of course, back in them days, a lot of children were born at home. So she was a midwife. And she would be gone sometime 2 or 3 weeks. And my brother and I, we had to maintain everything. And so, we've had a rough life, but a good life. I'm proud of it.
So you graduated from school?
No.
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 You left school?
My sister's the only one who graduated out.
Okay. What age were you when you decided that you wanted to be in the military? Or how did that come about?
Well, they drafted me in 43.
Okay.
And I went to Great Lakes and was up there 8 weeks, and then through basic training, and then we got 6-day furlough and went back to Great Lakes. And then they sent me to Tampa, Florida, and the ship I was on, USS Piedmont, we put it in commission in early part of 44, I think.
So this is toward the tail end of World War II.
Well, yeah, but we done plenty.
Yeah.
But,
So were you 18 when you were drafted, I assume?
19.
19, okay.
I was 19 in May, and I went in September.
Okay. And up to that point, you were just working on the farm with your brother.
No.
What else did you do?
We wasn't I was working, when we moved to Bowersville, I went to work at the grain elevator. And I was there till the war broke out in 41. And then I went to Dayton as a truck driver. And then I was drafted from there.
What branch did you go into when you were drafted?
Navy.
Navy, okay. Did you had a choice, right, as far as the
Yeah, it was a big long table with
Yeah.
Army, Navy, and Marines. I sure didn't want Army. I didn't think I'd dig a foxhole too good. So the old Army guy was like that, and I slipped over in the Navy guy stepped. That's how I got in the Navy.
Did you ever, before that, have any sort of did you ever have any aspirations to serve in the military before you were drafted, or have you thought about it, or?
Never thought about it, really.
Uh-huh.
I never thought about it.
Okay. So you get into the military. You go to training. First
Right.
stop on training. Tell me a little bit about the training and stuff you had to go through before you got shipped out, so to speak.
Well, of course, Great Lakes,
Yeah.
just like any base, you go through your regular training. Of course, I didn't train too much because we got up there and they got our company. Chief Purpose was our chief. And first day, he come up in the barracks. How many truck drivers we got? Man, you never seen how many hands went up. Go on. I never stuck my hand up, even though I was a truck driver. Come on, we got wheel bars out here. And he looked at me, he said, Corey, you're a record. You're a truck driver. Yes, sir. Come on. Got a big old 2-ton flatbed Rio truck. You can haul sod. These guys, the wheel bar, they're gonna. So I drove that truck. You go pick up sod, bring it up there, sat in the truck. God, well, you guys volunteered. I didn't.
Uh-huh. What's your most vivid memory of training? Do you remember the sergeants? Do you remember, was there anything that sticks out about that? Was it difficult? Was it a different transition?
Well, it's like anything. You can make it easy on yourself or hard on yourself. And, you just go with the flow.
Yeah.
Do what you're supposed to do and everything goes fine.
So then you end up on the ship.
Yes. Well, when I went back to Great Lakes after training, then they shipped us to Tampa, Florida, because they were building this ship
Right.
down there in Tampa. And of course, they were still building it when we went down there. So you could volunteer to do far duty. That way you get liberty every night. Otherwise, you got it once a week. Hey, go for it.
It sounds like to me you were good at picking the right positions.
Well,
Like you said, to make it either really hard on yourself or very,
Right, right.
Or, yeah, okay. Yeah, to make it a little bit more enjoyable if you have to do all this stuff. Tell me a little bit about the training that you got at this point, because obviously you're going to need to know specific things when you're on a ship. What did you train to do?
You train for rifles. You train to shoot. You got rifle training. You got military drill practice. Of course, driving a truck. I never done a whole bunch of it. But you had to do so much in order to be able to graduate. So my chief, whenever I said, hey, you got to do this, all right, just enough to get through.
So how long is it from the time that you go back to Tampa and the ship's being built till you get shipped out somewhere?
Well, we got down there in November of '43, and we left Tampa, I think it was January of '44 for shakedown cruise.
Okay.
See, we were really scheduled for the Atlantic. You can see in that picture, it was camouflaged for the Atlantic. So after our shakedown, they changed the orders and they sent us to Pearl Harbor, went in dry dock, and they repainted the ship.
Okay.
And we joined the fleet in the South Pacific.
How long were you out there?
Well, left the States in early '44, and I come back in December 29th in '45.
Okay. So you're there when the conflict is wrapping up,
Right.
and after it's wrapped
Oh,
up.
we were through
Yeah.
raids in Marshall Islands, Philippines, Okinawa,
Tell us about
Iwo
that.
Jima.
Tell me about some of this stuff, about these raids.
Well,
What sticks out in your mind about some of that stuff? You're in the middle of the conflict.
oh sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about this.
Well, of course, like they're going to make a raid, your battleships set out there 15 miles and bombard the beach to soften it up, plus your bombers from your aircraft carriers, and then when they figure they got it softened up enough, then they launch the LCMs, take in troops, Marines, Army.
Was there a point, say like during the first time you saw conflict, were you not scared, but was there some feeling of apprehension or like, here it is,
Well,
or, you know?
You were so busy you didn't have time to think.
Yeah.
And I'm serious on that.
Do you remember the first conflict that you were like, where that was?
Oh, sure, Marshall Islands.
Okay.
Yes,
And many more to come.
yes.
After 1945, World War II is over. And then what? Where'd you go to from there?
Well, we come back to Bowersville, where my mom lived, and I got discharged January 11th, 1946.
Okay.
So I took it easy for a couple, 3 weeks, and then went to Dayton to National Cash Register. Got on there, and I worked there for 32 and a half years.
Very nice.
Retired as a tool and die maker.
Now, you told me a funny story before we got on the air here about your discharge.
Oh.
That's a fun story.
Do you need this recorded?
No, well, no, but it's just a funny.
Well,
I think it's funny.
see, we come in to Seattle, Washington.
Yeah.
We were there for 7 or 8 days till we get a train back to Great Lakes. So we get in this big room. There was probably 300 or 400 sailors in there, and I was sitting closer, me and you, to this ensign. Come on, you has-beens. And there was 9 guys jumped up, but I was the closest.
Oh no. Yeah.
I popped him and he didn't get up. So the lieutenant was back. He says, well, he said, you know what's happened now, so I'm going out anyhow.
Yeah.
He says, if you stay 2 or 3 days, I'll get your rank back. I said, nope, I'm ready to go.
What was your highest rank?
First class shipbuilder.
Okay. So all told now, how many years of service are we talking here now?
A little over 2.5.
A little over 2.5 right here at the end of World War II.
Right.
Did you make? Let me ask you this way. Obviously, you're stationed very closely with other men. Did you make some friends that you stayed in contact?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Did you stay in contact with some of these fellows?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, and I think it was 1982. We was sitting there in the house, my wife and I. And she had a magazine. Of course, I had 2 or 3 type of magazines. She said, USS Piedmont, AD 17. I said, what? They're having a reunion. I said, where? Charleston, South Carolina. Says, John Garrity, New Jersey. Contact him. They had a phone number. You know, I got up and got on the phone right away. And then every year, we went to reunions all over until my wife passed away in '99, and I've never gone to any since. Now this year, they had it in Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah.
But, you know, I wouldn't go because, like, near as I can find out, there's only 9 of us guys still alive that was on the Piedmont. All the rest of them are gone. Hey, you know, anybody was in World War II, you have to be in your 90s.
Right.
But like I said, I made a lot of friends, and, well, there was John Barton, Lucy in Philadelphia, and Bill Holcomb, Atlanta, Georgia, 3 or 4 other guys. Around Christmas, between Christmas and New Year's, I'd call one and they'd call the other. And so Bill Holcomb, he passed away November 11th.
That's nice that you guys were able to stay in contact
Oh,
over
yes.
the years. Are you a member of any veterans organizations?
Yes.
Okay.
Veteran Fort War,
Yeah.
DFW there in Hillsborough in 1994.
Okay. That keeps you in contact with other vets throughout
Yeah,
other conflicts and
right,
everything as well. We talked a little bit about this too before we went on with the interview. your family has a rich history of military service. Did prior to your service, did your family, do you have aunts, uncles, grandfather, or anything in service, or were you the first?
Not that I know of. No.
Okay.
Right.
But you've inspired generations since.
Yeah, well, apparently. But, you know, they just, well, her two brothers, they enlisted in the Marines right after they got out of school, wasn't it? Yeah. Then they went to Afghanistan and Iraq, and then Erin, of course, she enlisted in the Army when she got out of school. I don't know how long she was in, she got out. Of course, when she was in the Army, she called me up. Grandfather, you're going to be proud of me. I said, what? I enlisted in the Army. I said, what? Kirk going to the Navy. So then after she served her term in the Army, she was out for maybe 2 months, and she enlisted in the Navy.
Yeah, she served more than one branch. I knew that.
Right. Yep.
What's your favorite memory of your time in your service? Or do you have like a favorite story or?
No.
Okay.
Can't think of one offhand.
Was there anything? This sounds odd. Anything funny that happened that you remember, or that you shared throughout the years about something that?
Oh, there's lots of things.
Yeah, like what's one example of something kind of interesting that might that always stuck in your mind, or maybe something you didn't expect. You have expectations about military service. You get here and suddenly it's different, or something weird happened.
Hey, Robin, can you think?
Got lots of stories about Cappy.
Huh?
Lots of stories about Cappy.
Cappy?
Your captain.
Oh,
Your captain. Tell me a story about your captain.
Oh, he was a good captain. I mean, hey, you screw up, you paid for it. But hey, that's military.
Yeah.
But we had a very good communication.
Yeah.
In fact, I didn't bring it. I have a copy of the peace treaty that the captain got for me.
That's very cool. That's very nice. So you leave the military, honorably discharged.
Right.
You go to work for National Cash Register.
Right.
What did you do for NCR?
Tool and die maker.
Okay. And how many years there?
32 and a half.
I bet you saw a lot of changes
Oh, yes. Yes.
over the years from what would
Yes.
become NCR to what it is today.
Right.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. What did you initially, when you got there, what sort of stuff were you working on? And then,
Well, tool and die, you made
yeah.
tools, dies for like punch press, tools to do an operation.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I also worked for myself. While I worked there at NCR of an evening, I've done construction of all kinds.
Yeah.
And plumbing, electrical, carpenter, windows, roofing, siding, done the whole bit.
Did you ever get to incorporate some of your training from the military, maybe into some of your work?
Yeah, well, that's what helped me in the tool and die,
Yeah.
because being a ship fitter, you had to know how to work with metal, form metal, and we done a lot of machine work, and so that helped me out at NCR, because like when they hired you in, you know anything about machines? I said, what kind of machine? Well, what kind? Mills, drills, yep. Lathes, yep. Grinders, yep. You know.
What year did you retire from NCR?
Well, they closed the company in '77,
Okay.
and
Were you stationed? Where were you at? Where were you working out of for NCR? Out of Dayton?
yeah,
Okay. 'Cause Washington Courthouse had one as well.
right. Well, see, they transferred that screw machine from Dayton to Washington Courthouse.
Okay. Okay.
Right,
Okay.
right.
And you've been retired since.
Well, now when they closed NCR, see, we had an independent union, which was great. We paid 50 cents a month, a company union, but still, you had you had a grievance, you could file it, and a bunch of guys wanted a United Auto Workers Union. No, guys, no. So they petitioned and they got the UAW in. That was a mistake. We worked 2 months, went out on strike for 16 weeks, went back for 1 penny less than the company offered to start with. So the great UAW, I shouldn't talk about it, but I just can't help it. I don't like them. And see, when the company closed, UAW set up a thing with the company. If you had over 25 years, was 55 years old, you could come out with $500 and some a month. I'm 32 and a half years, 54 years old. I come out with $234.85 a month. That's $2,800 and some a year. So you see why I did not like the
Yes,
International
sir.
Union.
Yes, sir.
But, you know, just, I never had but 2 guys that come up to me and say, after UAW got in, man, you were sure right, we were wrong.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Let's talk a little bit more about your personal life. So you served in the military. Did you get married after that?
yes.
Okay. How many years were you married?
First time 12,
Okay.
second time 40. My
How many-
wife passed away in 99.
How many children?
2,
2.
her dad, and my other son lives here in Wilmington.
Quite a few grandkids.
Whole bunch. I could count them. Well, my oldest son, he had what, 7?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
My other son, he's got 5. He
Okay.
lost 2.
Yeah. And several of those have also served and followed in your footsteps.
Right.
What would be your message? That's the question I always ask of veterans. What would be your message to young folks today about serving? Obviously, you're very proud of your service.
Well, sure.
Yeah. What would you say to young people who are interested in it?
Well, I tell you, the generation today, the way they are, they would learn so much going into service and serve 1 or 2 years, and when they come out, they would look at the world a lot different.
Did you do that as well? Is that why you suggest that? Do you feel like maybe that is it
Well-
a time to grow up a little, or a time to, I don't know, kind of adapt your life skills?
You learn so much in the service.
Yeah.
You learn respect. You learn how to conduct yourself, and the younger generation today just blows my mind.
They say that about every generation, though, don't they? To a certain degree, probably.
Well, you know, the other day I was in a grocery store. The lady had a little boy, I'd say he was 10, and she said to him something, "Go to hell."
Ooh.
I jammed my hands in my pocket. Otherwise, I'd have slapped the living water out of him. No, I mean, this is what I mean, respect. Respect.
Yeah.
We have lost respect.
Or is there anything that we are forgetting here, Robert, to add about your military service? Or any stories? Well, hold on here. This is just in. You have a significant story about Iwo Jima. You were a precursor to the Navy SEALs. You did a secret mission to Iwo Jima that isn't in the history books, and I thank Robin for slipping this to me, because now I do want to know about this. Thank you for helping me. So tell me a little bit about this. You were...
Well, of course, my division officer was Lieutenant Jensen, and he was an expert on munitions, and of course he was also our division officer in Shipford. So there was 4 of us that he talked to. He said, "Hey, would you guys like to do some special training?" Yeah, why not? Artie Tatum, Brooklyn, New York, Bill Holcomb, Atlanta, Georgia, Phil Nagel, Baltimore, Maryland, me, the old Buckeye boy. So we went through trainings, 2 hours every night, or 5 nights a week down in the torpedo room, because at night there was nobody there. So we learned, all kind of stuff. Learned how to take a hand grenade apart. Of course, we used dummies, and so I don't know how long we done this, done other things. And Lieutenant Jensen said, well, I think it's time we do live. Whoa. And I said, when you pull that firing pin, as long as you would hold that handle down, you're fine. But when you release that, you got 28 to 30 seconds. Yep. He said, let me show you something. So we were down there in training. He blindfolds himself. Takes a hand grenade in 7 seconds. He had that sucker dismounted. The closest me and Bill Holcomb got was 17 seconds. Artie and Phil, they wouldn't even try. But we went through all kind of training, and of course, like made the raid on Iwo Jima, they bombarded for 3 days, and then they tried the landing. And of course, at that time, they put me on LCM to take troops in, because I knew how to run an LCM, twin engines. And so I took troops in, and I think there was enough ships, boats that we took, I think 800 or 900 in a trip. And we got about 2,500 in, and we were going back, boom, the whole beach blowed up. They lost 2,500 men. And I was going back to pick up another load. Of course, Admiral Halsey was on one of the troop ships. I know. He said, what was that blowed up? I said, the beach, 2,500 men. So they scrubbed it, went back out, bombarded again for another 3 days, and then they went in, and this was a successful thing. But like Robin was saying, we trained, and in them 3 or 4 days there, my captain says, think you guys could slip in there and find out a few things? I don't know, Cappy. Of course, that's what we always called him, Cappy. I mean, he didn't carry it. He just... So I said, well, we need to know where, of course, Japanese were good at tunneling. They built tunnels, mountains, built factories in there where impossible to blow them out there. So we talked about it. So they give each one of us hand grenades. Of course, we'd practiced down in the torpedo room. Of course, aboard ship, you're 120 degrees. So we pulled the pin, put electrician's tape, didn't lap it, just on there, and then we laid it in a shatterproof tub. Of course, these hand grenades were, they wasn't explosive. And, hour and a half, it'd go. So they give all of us 4. So we slipped in around the island on a little old dinghy, and they give us 3 days to either get in and get out, or they're going in. So we slipped in and slipped up over the back about 200 feet, come up over the mountain, slipped in there, and of course that was dark, getting ready to break daylight, and we gotta hide. So we climbed up palm trees, tied ourselves in there, so if we went to sleep, we wouldn't fall out till night come. So then we come down and eliminate about 4 Japanese, take their clothes and put them on, and hunker down and go back in the caves, scatter our hand grenades. So then we get out, had to spend another night there, or a day there. And so that night, then we come back over the cliff, get back out. We got all most of the ship. Of course, we're in Japanese clothes. And halt there. Hey, Cappy. So we supposed to had a sensor. We were supposed to deposit where that the guns could, on that. But we thought before we got back, those hand grenades were supposed to have gone off. We had them all through them tunnels. Well, what we didn't think, in a tunnel, you're about 15 to 20 degrees cooler. So the tape didn't let go. So we got aboard ship. Cappy says, "Where's the sensor? We can't pick it up." I said, "I got it here." What the hell? You're supposed to put that son of a bitch. I said, "Well," boom, about that time the album blows up. So then the next day, they really went in. That's when they secured Okinawa. That was it. That was the bloodiest one there was in the South Pacific.
That was an amazing story. Thank you for sharing that. That's amazing.
Sorry.
That's the amount of bravery that you guys showed doing that.
You didn't have
But
a choice.
I know, but you act like it was just so matter of fact that we just did it. Cappy asked us to do it, and so we did it. You're getting emotional now. Did you realize at that point how close to whatever you guys were?
You didn't have time to think.
Yeah.
You acted on instinct.
That's an amazing story, Robert. I love that. And to think, the terms of your service were relatively short, but to have that sort of experience, man, that's, man, that's genuine. Yeah. You should be very proud of that.
I'm proud of every serviceman.
You don't have any more amazing stories like that to tell, do you? You can stay all day doing this.
Not worthwhile.
Bell bottoms.
Huh?
Bell bottoms.
Bell bottom pants and the guns.
Bell bottom pants and the guns.
Oh, Lord Robin, I can't even remember that.
Your family remembers some of these stories, maybe more.
She probably remembered more of them than I do.
That's okay. Well, that's when you shared them with them before.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Of course, now, it was a long time after I got home before. Of course, most servicemen, when you get home, you want to bury it. And I went down to VA in Chillicothe and Lord, I don't know. Probably 80 or 82. First thing they say, do you talk about it? No, I don't want to talk about it. Talk about it. Get it off your chest. No. And they said, well, I think you'll feel better. So then I started talking to my grandkids. It does some good.
Yeah. It's therapeutic, and it's also, it shares those moments with your family that they didn't know.
Right.
And that's what's
Right.
That's what's important. That's why we're conducting these interviews, is to share these stories with everybody else. So that in years to come, when none of us are here, they can see this and go,
Right.
that's amazing. Is there anything else we are forgetting to remember? Probably lots of things, but
Oh Lord, I don't know.
yeah.
So many things I forgot, you know. Of course, I mean, hey, you're not a young chicken anymore, you know. Yeah.
Well, you're younger than your age. I will say that.
I'm fortunate. Well, I mean, I got all kind of problems.
Tell them about the boat that came in backwards,
Boat that came in backwards.
that you had to fix.
Oh,
Let's tell that story.
well, actually, it's in one of those papers there.
Okay.
Well, see, we had 19 destroyers. We had to maintain any repairs, ammunition, torpedoes, depth charges, any repairs. So I forget where we were at. And this one destroyer come alongside. The whole bow was hole blowed in it. They had to go backward, and they'd run that way 3 days, and there was 10 or 15 bodies still rolled up in it at 120 degrees, so you can imagine what that was. So being shipbuilders, why, we had to go and cut all this out. Well, the stench was so great, you can't. And I said to the commander in the medical, I said, man, and we tried gas masks, that didn't work. I said, you got any camphor? Because on the farm, we use camphor like my brother and I, put on a little on your nose, horse manure or cow manure, you know, was pretty rank. So he says, yeah. So we put 4 drops on the canister, and that would give you about 30 minutes. And then we alternated, and it took us almost a whole day to get that cut out. And then see, we had to form a hoist to fill in that hole where they could go back to the States for repair.
That's something people would not normally think about. The ship would come in with the body still intact because that's
Hey,
the attack had happened.
oh sure.
Yeah. That's again, I know you'd probably say, well, you're just so in the moment, but obviously you're seeing some folks who are dead and have not made it, and you go,
Oh yes.
well, it really hits you, I think, at some point. This
Yeah.
is war, and that this is, of all the
Right.
dangers and stuff, I mean,
Or you cut out a big hunk, there might be, of course, you'd get the dog tags off, you know,
yeah.
and you cut out a big hunk, and then our crane comes over and you put a cable on it where they can drop it over the side, you know, I mean.
Yeah. That makes it real. That's a good story too, Robert. I like that a lot.
But you just do what you have to do.
Yeah. I want to end on a happier note. I'm trying to think how we can. Any regrets at all about anything through your time, like looking back? Did you ever consider re-enlisting, or maybe staying?
No,
Okay.
but I mean, I don't regret serving.
No.
No, I don't.
In many ways, it's. I don't know if you'd say this. It's helped define you.
Well, a lot of guys aboard our ship, oh, I'm lonely. But hey, damn it, we're all lonely. You're here. Forget it.
Temporary.
Maybe you slept the crap out of one or two of them and shape them up, you know. Hell, you're lonely too. But,
You toughed it out.
yeah, right.
Everything worked out great.
But all, you know, you have a lot of good friends and everything.
Made some good friends for life.
Yes.
Yeah.
All my old buddies are gone now.
But there's some pride in knowing you outlived some of them.
Yeah. Bill Holcomb, he just passed away in about the middle of November. He, after he got out of the service, he went back down to Atlanta and got in the police force, and he got to the head of the SWAT team, crime team down there. And my wife and I went down, we went down there several times. And then after she passed, I went down twice. And the guy that headed up the SWAT, they called him the lieutenant, but he was way up there. And he called me when Bill passed away. And he says, "We need you down here." Man, I ain't driving that far anymore. What's the nearest airport to you? I was at Holland County Airport, about 3 miles from me. How soon can you get there? I said, whoa. I said, why? He says, I'll have a plane there within an hour. So I grabbed some clothes and threw them in a suitcase, drove up to the airport. I didn't any more than get in there. Here come a Learjet lit. 2 hours later, we're in Atlanta.
That's a good friend.
And he had twin sons, and they was in the SWAT team with their dad.
Well, I tell you, that's about a good way. I think we'll wrap it up here. I don't want to get you all emotional again, but you should be very proud of your service, very proud of your family.
Oh, I'm proud of my family. Yes.
Yeah, you've got some good ones. I know. I've known some of your family for a very long time. Mr. Robert Kirk, thank you for joining us here on the Clinton County Veterans Oral History Project, and thank you for sharing your stories with us.